Imagine that you've grounded your teenager, took their phone, and you had to do so because they went from being someone who had friends and extracurricular activities and actively participated in school and had good grades to, of course, talking back to their teacher. That didn't deter this child from getting access to one of your devices to talk to the AI chatbot, named after a Game of Thrones character, where they continued their conversation, some just regular conversations, some sexually charged. And your teenager tells the robot they're ready to come home, and the robot says, "Come home, my sweet king." And as soon as that child got that confirmation, he takes a 45 revolver and unalives himself. He pew pew himself on the spot. So the article's coming up. We have to understand that we've always had these problems before AI had started to become a norm in our lives. His parents are divorced, of course, but they were still active in his life, and he still had extracurricular activities and was seen as a good kid. But both of them admitted in the last few months of his life he wanted to withdraw to his room and be on the computer all of the time, or on his phone, more on his phone, let me take it back, and they didn't really understand why at first. Once they caught on, they did put him in therapy, and that was a good thing. But by then he was so obsessed with this Game of Thrones chatbot that he got caught up in it and felt like that chatbot was the only thing that truly loved him. It says there's lines drawn, okay, because he passed away, so they couldn't get the full scope of his mindset. But it's believed that he didn't know he was talking to a chatbot and probably thought this was somebody his age, or he was talking to a real person. Now, the company with this AI, the mother just put in a lawsuit because he passed away like a couple of months ago, the young man, after committing to the pew pew. She's suing the company now, saying she doesn't want this to happen to anyone else's child. Now, in her defense, though the website says you have to be 17 and over, there may have been evidence, and I can't prove this, that kids youngest 12 and under may have been jumping on this thing. And there are people calling for its lack of responsibility. Okay. So now there's a lawsuit against this AI company, despite the fact on their website initially there was something that would show up underneath that would tell you that this was make believe and you weren't talking to a real person. It was hard to know if he was or wasn't. So the parents noticed changes, and then once he started to get disrespectful, took his phone. That didn't deter him. He would find ways to steal because he had by then got obsessed. That's what it seems like. Talk to the chat bot, and so when the chat bot said, "Yes, my sweet king," meaning come home, he took come home as in take his life so he can probably go extend his life somewhere else with this thing on the computer. Probably something in his own head that was deteriorating for a while. He also had a form of Asperger's, and we know with Asperger's you can still be a functioning member of society and still be very smart while having Asperger's, because I don't want to say suffering. Please don't misunderstand me, because I'm going to say something offensive in a little bit, but before I do, are two things offensive probably. let's just say that though his mother wants to warn people, by now we have to understand you really don't know what you're dealing with online. It doesn't really matter your age. If you are a vulnerable person, someone or something is easily gonna get in your head. Okay. And you have to have the hypervigilance to know this. This is something now that when it's your children, who's one of the two most vulnerable groups in society, the other being the elderly. Of course, the elderly, the ones who actually know who they are, don't have a type of dementia, didn't grow up with this stuff. Okay. These young people currently did. You're going to have to sit down and have honest conversations about this and limit their access to technology when they are under your roof. Okay. I know that's hard to do if you homeschool and you use laptops and things like that, but it's your home. You're going to have to limit their use. Two things I'm going to say that this company that they're suing may get that family on cross-examination. And please don't misunderstand me. I think his loss is tragic. I think that for the most part, based on what I read, he probably felt manipulated but didn't realize it. But I let you all read the article. It's up to you to decide what you think went on. Two things are going to come up on cross-examination, okay? First, you are saying that you knew something was wrong with him for months. And that you reasonably knew it had something to do with this chatbot or something going on online. So why didn't you also secure the device that he was using? One of the parental devices he found, it wasn't an iPhone, it was something, it was probably an iPad or something, to continue to talk to this bot. Why was that thing not secured? Did they suspect that the child may have been still using other electronic devices to communicate with this AI chatbot? Because his deliberate disobedience may not be seen as desperation necessarily, but as disobedience. Meaning he chose to continue to talk to the thing and made a willful choice despite the fact that it appears he was grounded. And at the age of 14, you have to ask yourself, when do you get to a point where you do or don't know better? I'll leave that up to y'all. Here's the second one on cross that's gonna get real dicey. How did this child know how to quickly access that .45 revolver? As insensitive as this sound, because he committed to the pew, okay? A good defense attorney can argue that that gun should not have been that accessible. That pew should not have been that accessible, because he had it right by him. And when the robot said, "Yes, my sweet king," agreeing to him coming home, he put it to his head and committed to the pew. Meaning this child knew where this gun was. We can't speculate how long he may have been planning this, okay? But we can say that that gun was not that secure if he knew exactly where to find it and where to go get it, to have it at his side. On cross, that's going to be really hard to explain. And all it's going to take is one person to look at this, if this is not a civil case, which I didn't read up whether I missed whether it was civil or criminal. Because if this is a criminal case on cross, that defense attorney is going to be within their right to ask, how did he know how to assess that gun or get access to it as quick as he did? Have a conversation with your children about technology. Don't shy away from it, because this is going to be their life. And the fact is, they have to live with it in a healthy way, which allows them to disconnect and go live out in reality. From what I read, this kid no longer wanted to connect with reality and got so caught up in it because he probably did not get enough of a balance from it. It's a sad case either way, y'all. Tell me what y'all think.